in one of the most adequately matched hype to games I've seen in a while. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master of Football back at it again. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on everything college football, pro football, Madden, EA college football, NFL draft, anything related to American football, hit that red subscribe button. You will not be disappointed. Also, hit the like button too, and follow on Twitter/X. The fam is growing. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, we are in the midst of one of the most exciting college football seasons we have seen in many years. It's due to multiple factors. One, the ascension of the Pac-12 for now. I won't say the, middling of the SEC, but kind of just a malaise. It just kind of seems like there's not as many compelling storylines in the SEC as previous years. LSU doesn't have a defense. Alabama doesn't have an offense. It's just kind of a weird spot there. Georgia's still doing just fine. They're probably still going to walk to 12-0, maybe even have an 11-1 situation. But for the most part, the college football season has been exciting. From a Boise State Broncos, you can see up here, Boise State, you can see over here. They've had a terrible season. This is one of the worst seasons they've had in a while. It started off pretty good. As a matter of fact, we were up in the Pacific Northwest. We're playing a team here, get off to a 6-0 lead. We're like, okay, things are going pretty well. Get around to the second quarter. Boise State gives up not one, not two, not three, but 4 passing touchdowns in one quarter. I'm, of course, talking about Michael Penix and your Washington Huskies. This game ended up an absolute blowout and was the precursor to the rest of the season. We come down here and we see this. We can see Jalen McMillan, Jalen Polk, and Jack Westover. 4 touchdowns in one quarter set the stage. Now, I know what you're saying. Why Boise State's not the team. They're 3-4 right now. They're not really good. How are you going to judge them against Washington? Or how are you going to judge how Washington does when other teams are playing better teams? So what you're saying is Washington needs to play a top-level team to see how they do. Well, they just did it this weekend, and they beat the Oregon Ducks in one of the most adequately matched hype to games I've seen in a while. The Washington Huskies host the Oregon Ducks. It was a back and forth game. It was here and there. There was lead changes. There was controversial calls. There was missed field goals. There was everything in this game. But ultimately, it came down to the fact that Michael Penix Jr., 4 passing touchdowns, 300 yards passing. He is one of, if not the best pocket passing quarterbacks in the NCAA right now, bar none. Goes out there, plays Bo Nix. Bo Nix had a really nice game, 337, 2 touchdowns. Buck Irving had 100 yards on the ground. But ultimately, the Washington Huskies, through here and there, there's a couple controversial calls here by Dan Lanning. Maybe they should have gone for it. Maybe they shouldn't. Either way, UW comes out the victor in this game. And now, no longer they're just a nice story. They're starting to make some headway in the polls and the CFP. Like I said before, the top lead here, we see the fact that this Georgia number of first place votes, according to the AP, is still definitely the AP. Like I said, check this out. The AP, they're a little bit more, voting around the block, whereas the coaches are like, hey, Georgia's still undefeated. They haven't lost. They won 2 championships. Until they lose, they're the number 1 team. But you can see the fact that some people in the AP, 16 AP first place votes for Michigan, 1 for Ohio State, 1 for Florida State, who looked really good as well, and 2 for your Washington Huskies, who move up 2 spots from 7 to 5. I'm telling you, this is so crazy. If you look at this from these top 12 teams right here, and maybe put in a couple of conference championships there, this is the year they should have had the 12-team playoff because there's so many good teams. One of them is your Washington Huskies in connection with your boy Michael Penix. Now, Michael Penix is off to a great start this season. Had a really good season last year. They were one of the best offenses in the country last year. They're still one of the best offenses in the country this year, and most of it is due to this guy right here. You check out what his story was, and you're like, okay, I see the fact. Why do I see some Indianas down here? Well, he's had a really star-crossed career. Again, he's a 6-year senior because of the COVID extra year. He's got a lot of game under his belt, but you see the last 2 seasons. 31 touchdowns, 8 picks last year, 20-3 this year, 189 rating. He is absolutely 72% completing his passes. He's absolutely awesome. But he actually hasn't played as much football as you thought. Bo Nix has something like 50 starts on the other side for Oregon. He had something like 50 starts heading into that game. However, for Michael Penix, he's actually had a lot of seasons that were ended in injury. You see how few numbers there are on the attempts in these seasons here. A couple of that's due to COVID. Other things there are due to the fact that he just got injured quite a bit. So Michael Penix Jr. comes out of Tampa, Florida, a very high-level recruit, commits to Indiana, the Hoosiers, out there in the Big Ten. Goes in there in 2018 as a true freshman, plays in 3 games, boom, torn ACL. He redshirts. Okay, fine. All right. Then very next season, he comes out 2019. He's like, all right, I'm going to do this. Let's do this again. 6 games in, boom, injured again. Okay, dang it. Okay, let's do this one more time. Go out here in 2020 in the COVID year. And on November 30th, boom, tears his ACL. 2 ACL tears, tons of injuries, all of that. And you're like, man, this guy, if he can ever get it together in terms of his health, he is a top flight player. Well, he goes to Washington with one of his former coordinators from Indiana, Kalen DeBoer. He brings him over. So Kalen DeBoer has a cross career. He's from Millbank, South Dakota out there, but he ultimately ended up 2019, one season here, changes the direction of Washington and Michael Penix and Kalen DeBoer's life forever. 2019, comes in there, and again, that was the year that he hurt himself again, but he's like offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, and he's like, I really like this guy. He gets the head coaching job at Washington, and he says, hey, dude, come with me to UW. I promise you, we're going to protect you. Everything is going to be okay. And so far, they're off to a great start. We keep on forgetting that the year before Kalen DeBoer got there, this was what the University of Washington was doing, okay? So University of Washington, September of 2021, a little over 2 years ago, not that far, a little over, maybe 13 months ago, they were losing to an FCS team at home. This was not the Montana Grizzlies that were, one of the top flight teams in the FCS like they are this year. This was a mediocre, a Big Sky team that season. So they come in here, they lose to them 2 years later, not 13, it would be 25 months later. They're in a spot where they're one of the top teams in the country because Kalen DeBoer, Michael Penix, and what they're able to do. Kalen DeBoer told Michael Penix, he's like, listen, I'm going to get you a couple of things. I'm going to get you some help. You got to make sure you play all these games with me because we'll be fine. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure you don't get hit. And the crazy thing is when you check the stats here, Penix was not under significant duress in the 2022 season, taking only 4 sacks throughout the entire year. So last season, only been sacked 4 times. I remember here, all those injuries, can't be taking a lot of hits, only got sacked once against Oregon, one of the better pass rushing teams out there. I mean, they had 1,000 sacks against Colorado. That's because of Colorado. But we're looking at what they needed to do. So get Michael Penix, get Kalen DeBoer, protect Michael Penix. And also, I'm telling you, again, he might not be the top wide receiver off the board, but somebody's going to get a top flight receiver in this next year's NFL draft by getting your boy Rome Odunze. Obviously, we have Marvin Harrison Jr. He is the top guy right now. And then we see Malik Neighbors from LSU, Keon Coleman, who has had a really great breakout, one of the most amazing catches against Syracuse this last week. And then Rome Odunze right now on the PFF big board, number 19 overall. Quarterback, head coach, wide receiver. Jalen McMillan and Kalen Polk at receiver 2, probably going to be a 3rd, 4th round receiver, something like that. They are loaded with dudes, pass protecting up front. Everything is in line for this team, so much so that right now, the leading favorite for the Heisman Trophy is none other than Michael Penix. So over here on sportsbook.fanduel.com, you see the fact, and again, this is currently here, but it is a ridiculous, overwhelming favorite on who it's going to be. So +1, then the second place guy for the Heisman Trophy, the second leading guy for the Heisman Trophy voting right now is J.J. McCarthy, quarterback for Michigan, Dylan Gabriel, quarterback for Oklahoma, but they are way behind Michael Penix Jr., -140. Again, you put down $140, you would win $140, whereas for J.J. McCarthy, you put down $100, you win $1,000. You can see it's that big of a discrepancy between who's the Heisman Trophy favorite and who is not. Michael Penix Jr. is that guy going forward. But going forward, it doesn't get any easier because the Pac-12 this year, of all the years to have the last year of the Pac-12, it's brutal for UW. So we look what they've done so far. Again, Boise State, Tulsa, at Michigan State, Cal, at Arizona. Arizona, who's been surprising some people. That is a much better win than people give them credit for. Home against Oregon. You got home against Arizona State, at Stanford. Should be able to handle the next 2 games, the last month of the season. At USC. I know what you said. Oh my gosh, USC went to Notre Dame and they lost. Again, they still have the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. It's still going to be a tough game there. Home against Utah, a big physical team there. At Oregon State, who's going to be a big physical team as well. And then you have the final Pac-12 Apple Cup between Washington State and Washington. I'm telling you, that's all that there. And then they probably have to play maybe Oregon again, maybe USC again, maybe Utah or Oregon State again. They are not able to rest. It does not get any easier for them. It's been awesome. I'm really glad they're getting their due. This is their coming out party. But right now the target is on your back. We'll see what UW does. So a couple years ago, our dear friend Michael Penix Jr. torn ACL. separated AC joint, tons of injuries at Indiana. He meets up with a guy named Kalen DeBoer, quarterback coach and offensive coordinator at Indiana. They both eventually, 2022, they end up at Washington. What do? Bam, 31 touchdowns, 8 picks. So far this year, 20 touchdowns, 3 picks, and they just beat Oregon, one of their bitter rivals. However, still going to get tough, but you see the fact that they got Michael Penix Jr., Kalen DeBoer, Romo Dunze, Jalen McMillan, Kalen Polk. They are an explosive team, and they're going to make headway in the national championship race. Whether or not they're there or not depends on these last couple of games because it does not get any easier. But I'm telling you, UW has their imprint on the CFP right now. How much so? We'll see. All right, guys, get in the comments right now. What do you guys think of UW so far? So far, I am shocked at what they're doing. I knew they were going to be good, but man, they look like they're one of those teams. You guys get in the comments right now and let me know what you guys think. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. I appreciate it. And follow me on Twitter/X. I'll see you guys later. I am out.